demo is going to be thread grafting. So I'm going to be doing 2 demos. The first one's going to be a branch thread graft, and the second one's a root thread graft. They're both really simple. And it's kind of surprising to me how well they work, because the whole thing is connected with the roots and the branches, the branch that's going through the graft. So it's constantly being fed. So you don't have to worry about the whole thing dying because there's no connection. So let's go to the next slide. All right, here's the cambium, yay. Okay, a very thin layer of actively growing cells. And this is the part that we're concerned about with our thread graft. So the first one I'm going to do is a branch thread graft. So I need to pick the place where I want to put a branch, and I'm going to make a black spot right there. That's where I want my branch to be. So now I'm going to take my drill, and I start here, and I drill, and I'm drawing from that point to the other side. All right, so there is my drilled hole. And now I'm going to get my branch, and I am going to thread it through that hole. I'm going down the wrong way, that's fine. Okay, going down through that hole. And so this end, this is what the part I want. So here are my little buds that are going to be growing. And what happens, you have this intersection between the 2 cambiums, between the parent tree and the graft. And because that cambium is actively growing, this is going to continue to thicken. And at some point, it's going to continue to thicken. This is what cambium does. It causes branches and trunks to thicken. So that's going to thicken. That's going to take off and grow. The other side, there's still another connection here on the lower left. That's also going to grow and fuse. But this is the part we care about, the part right up here, which is going to continue to grow. So once that's thicker, we know that the graft is actually taken, and the other side does not get thicker because it doesn't have the apical growth that the buds on the outer part cause it to grow faster. So once that whole thing, hold on, and didn't get my annotate thing working. Once the whole thing is grown out and you're pretty sure that it's fused and is taking, the parent plant tree is taking growth and doing all the growth. So we don't need this anymore, this part gets cut off. So that's a branch thread graft. So I'm going to clear this, and we're going to try this again. This time we're going to do a root graft. So we're still doing the cambium layer, going across here. And this is going all the way around. So now we want to do our, where do we want our root graft? Well, let's say we want it right here. So this is where I'm going to drill. So we drill from the root end. So we're going to get our drill bit. And here we go. We're going to go all the way through to the other side. There we go. We're going to take, this time we're taking a whip. So it's got roots and it has buds at the other end. And here we go. So we're going to thread this through here. Thread. And out the other side, but we're going to continue going all the way out until the roots that are on this side are snugged up against the trunk of the tree. Because that's how we want it to look. We want the root to look natural. So the more roots we have coming out of here, the better it should look. So there's our roots. So then again, the same thing is happening. This is fusing up here on this cambium, and this thickens. And because there's an apical buds out here, this thing is going to just go flying out and grow way out. But we also have the thickening on this side, and roots are also growing. So instead of not have anything happening down here, the roots are taking off, and this is also growing. And it's going to be a little harder to tell when they actually, when it's fused and it's taken over by the parent tree, because this is under the surface of the soil. But you can either check the next time you repot, or kind of maybe about a year later, you can check it to see if it's fused. And then you come in and just cut that off. So that would be a root thread graft. Okay, let's clear this.
Carmen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you tell me, when you were talking about doing this, so you have a seedling or something that's in a cup that has roots? I mean, what is the original material that you're working from?
So for the whip, and I'm going to go through this on the demo, I just wanted to kind of show you the whole process of it. But for the thread graft, you're usually using something that's on the original tree that you've grown out and then comes in through the trunk, and you drill a hole and it goes through it. For the roots, you have to have a whip, and I'm going to describe later on what it is, but basically it's a very tall, thin growing plant, the same species as the tree you're grafting, and you've got the small group of roots on one end, very long twiggy stem, whatever stem, and then buds at the end. So you usually grow those specifically for grafting. Does that make sense? I'm just going to have pictures of them in the demo. Okay. Next.
Okay.
Okay. Next slide. So these are our materials. So it's very simple stuff. All we need is an electric drill and assorted drill bits. It's really nice to have an extra long, this is right there, an extra long drill for especially drilling through nabari, because they can be quite thick, and it's a ways to get through them, and the shorter drill bits don't always get through. So it's nice to have at least one of those. We're going to need skewers, and I'll show you how those work later, toothpicks to peg your graft into place, a Sharpie to mark where you're going to do it, and then there's cut paste to seal it at the end. Okay, now this is extreme, but this is how you prepare for branch grafting. It's always done in late winter, early spring. You want the buds to be just barely moving. If the buds start getting too big, then they're going to get rubbed off as you take them through the hole. So hold on a second. Okay, so you can see this person has grown out all kinds of branches at the top of the tree. And I'm sure if they went straight up, they'd be at least twice as tall as this tree is. But they have wrapped them loosely in wire and curved them around to set them where they want their graft. So this is your prep work. You have to grow out some branches before you do this, or else you won't have any material to do it with. And you can see where it's come across. So where do they put the branches? Anywhere where you would normally put a branch. So we have a branch here, and it's on the curve. There's going to be one on the curve. And then we have that one. There's at least 8 of these things, and I'm sure they're going all over the place, front and back. But you get the idea. You would put them where you would normally have a branch. And I don't know what their plan was with this tree. It's to me, it's extreme, but hey, it would be great practice because you've got a lot of material to deal with. Okay. Okay. Ooh, no. Hold on. I got it clear. Otherwise, it goes to the next slide. Okay. All right. And this is the tree that I'm going to do the thread graft on, the branch thread graft. This is Renee's Korean hornbeam. And she decided she wanted a branch coming out through the back. So she's my assistant. So she made sure that this worked. And she was okay with what I did to it. Okay, next one. This is the prep for a root graft. So root graft's a little different. You have to do it when you repot the tree, and you can see where they've cleared back a lot of the soil because you have to have access to the trunk because you have to have room to put the roots. So you've got to really clean out the tree. This person has drilled holes, and you can see where the holes and the orange sticks that have gone through it. So I wanted to make the point that on this, all of the holes are coming out of the same level. So your Nabari is going to look really good because it's flowing nicely out from the trunk and there's nothing really high, really low. So this is what you kind of want. And if you trace these, and it's kind of difficult, you know, you would put a root here. This would be a root, and the other side would be the branch coming up out the other side. And the only other comment I wanted to make was for this number of root grafts, you have a potential problem, partly because of the congestion, but also as you drill holes. Let's say I drilled the hole through here for this one. It was coming out the other end, and then, okay, I want one over here. So I'm drilling this hole and coming right through here. They could intersect right there. And then you don't have a root graft. You would one of the grafts would not go through. So that's why it's helpful to have these little sticks in here to mark where they're at. And that may help you if you have a number of them you want to do. So the root graft I'm going to do tonight is on this trident maple. This is one of Renee's, and it's pretty mature and it's quite nice, but we found this area in the base that would be improved by having root grafts. I pre-recorded my demos, and that happened in late January because things started to move. And if I didn't do the demo then, we weren't going to have a demo. So I'm going to play the Korean hornbeam branch thread graft first, and then follow it by the trident maple root graft, and then I will answer any questions afterwards.
On this tree, which is Korean hornbeam, we are going to do a thread graft. Have a long, grown out, straight, thin branch that's going to have a hole drilled and run through here, the trunk, and come out, and we'll create a new branch right there. It's very handy to have. This Korean hornbeam had an approach graft right here, and this is stretched out, so this is getting better, so bigger. So we have all of these branches out here that can be used as thread grafts. This one's been wired into place, so we know it's going to reach the area where it needs to go. There's these other ones we could also use. I would wire them so you could twist them around, but this is pretty flexy, so it shouldn't be a problem. If you want to do it ahead of time, Renee does say that a big branch, that's a good idea too. The reason we're going to do this on this tree is because, and it needs branches. You can see the back. It's very flat. The only back branch is way up here, and then we have all of this trunk that could stand to have some branches coming out that would be improved. So the first thing we do, we figure out where we want these grafts. And this is going to be where they come out. So this is where the branch forms. This is where the tip goes. That's the important spot. So I've decided on this one, it's below this branch. It's going to come out like that, so it won't interrupt the other branches. The second one, I decided here, we have all of these scar tissue. Need to avoid that. So if somebody's already done a graft and you've cut it off and want to try it again, you have to go in a different spot. So the other place is right there if we did that one. So those are marked. Now we're ready for a drill. We're going to drill this one. So before we drill, we have to decide what size bit we want for this. This is my branch. I have a bud there. I have the branch there. It has to go. Both of those have to go through. I can't let that bud rub off. So I've got this size drill bit. And although it's a lot bigger than that, it's about the size I think I will need to use. If it doesn't work, I can go a bigger size. The other thing I didn't mention, once these start to swell, it's almost impossible to do this. This is why it's early spring. It's the end of January. And they're starting to swell just a little bit. This is the perfect time to do it. So that's what I'm doing. Move this out of the way. So that's where it goes. Instead of using this big drill through here, so I've tried this and it bounces all over the place. I like to use a little pilot hole. So here I go. It's going to be straight. There's no branches behind here. And I'm on forward, I think. Okay. See, and it bounces anyway, even with the small one. So I have to kind of, oops,
Get it started.
get it started. Why am I going? Still slips, but I'm getting closer. There we go. Okay. So we're fairly straight. We're going to end up out there. Okay. This isn't like really dead wood because it's, that should probably be enough. It fills up the drill bit because it's wet, it's alive. And now I'm going to change to the bigger drill bit. I have that same hole. I put some pressure and I push. Let's see, it should go right through there. And see how this is coming out, and it's very, very green. You want to go fairly slow. You don't want to speed up the drill. And I'm backing it out. See this? So every once in a while you have to do that because it stops going forward. And now it should go. You said pushed in, right? Okay, it's going forward. I'm going to pull it out again. See what I got. Yeah, see? And I've done these where you go a half an inch at a time, literally, and that's as far as you get. So it's a process. And it's just, it fills it up and it won't go any farther. Okay. I think we're getting close. It's not that thick of a branch or the trunk. Yeah. You have to be close.
Careful, you drill your finger.
No. I haven't done that before. I don't put it in reverse. I just kind of, it comes out easily. That's a lot. Come on, come on, baby. There we go. Okay. And turn it so she can see it from the other side. Got it? Okay. And it blows out somewhat back there. Oh, that's not as bad as I expected. Okay, so pull the drill out. This time I'm going to go to reverse because I can, maybe if I can find it. Got it. Okay. Phew. Okay, there's our hole. I am going to run a skewer through it just to make sure everything looks great.
Sometimes I leave it in there.
When you clean, sure, go ahead. So Renee's going to clean the backside. The front side looks pretty good. The back side is always going to look a little rough. There's only a couple little threads in here. It's really not bad. Oh, yeah, actually, that looks very good. You can put a close up of the hole. And Renee's cleaning the back. Okay.
Make sure it's
From both sides. Yeah, a little bit of debris came out of that, so it helps. All right, because the whip goes through the backside out through here. So Renee, you want to start, and you don't want to bend it too sharply. This back here, that could break easily. So that's why we have this wire. And as it comes through, hopefully, there's one bud. The buds are really fat.
they're fat
And they're pointing out.
Yeah.
There goes. There's two buds.
Oh, you got him?
Ah, yay! Okay.
Yeah.
So I have three buds, and you leave about, can you see the about a half an inch? You want me to turn? See, you need a space there, even just there, like that. Because this is going to be where your branch starts coming out. And you can see how huge the hole is. The sides, you know, it has to fill up all of that. So what you do is you take a toothpick. puts that in there, so that's kind of, that's firm. You got yours in there. And once that is in there, it should be stable. You don't ever want to bump any of this because it's stable, but if it's fragile and you have the potential, very carefully take off the toothpick without taking off the, okay, and then you can push that a little bit farther so it's flush. Okay. Mostly my failure is in the back because the angle is so acute that it cracks and breaks off if I bump this. So now we're cut paste. So we're going to put cut paste around this to help it heal. You don't want to use the liquid because now our cambium connection is there and there. If you put cut paste on it, it could fill that in and then you wouldn't have the connection. So cut paste, seal that up. So because this is connected, that branch is going to be feeding this until the cambium connects. Then this is going to start getting thicker and thicker because it's being fed by the trunk. This will stay, the back part will stay thin, and that's how you know it's working. So usually you let it go till this is very obviously much thicker than that where the entry point in the back, and then you can cut that off. And now we have a branch coming off here where we really need it, and then we can put another one right there. And in the future, this will be just thrown out like any other branch. Any other comments? Anything else to? You can kind of see it, but as it gets out, that's going to fill this area. All right, looks good.
Way to being a better
A better tree, and it's really easy to do. It's fairly easy.
very easy.
Here's an update on the hornbeam that we did thread grafts on. It's been almost 2 years and took all the leaves off. I'm going to rotate it and show you. Here's our first thread graft. So these two gave us a back, and you can see it's completely sealed up, totally sealed. Looks beautiful. It's coming out. You've got buds there. You can build ramification off this. Looks very, very good. The second one, a little bit of a collar there, but the same thing, totally healed. We've got a bud there, buds there, and it's going to be building out for ramification. Looks great. So looking back and looking at it, you can see now we have a back branch, another back branch where there was nothing here before. Back to the front, I want to show you the insert spots where we've threaded this through. And Renee cut that off after about a year. So the big one is right here. Just that one little dot right there, and that's all that's left. And the second one is this kind of paler dot right there. Totally healed. So you can see that this technique works really, really well. And there's our tree. Now it's ready to be ramified. We have branches where we want them. Everything is pretty much set. So that's the future for this, is ramifying. Thank you. Hi, I wanted to show you another technique I tried after I did my recording. And this was by wrapping a branch in Teflon tape, which is extremely slippery. You can slide, you can see where it slid right through the hole and the tip goes out the other side. So here you can see where I've unwrapped it. So you've got 3 branches on that have all been pulled into one spot. You've got the hole, it needs to be trimmed, but it's gone through there with no problem whatsoever. And then all I need to do is pin it and then put the cut paste on it. So here's 2 of them that I did. And I thought it's a kind of cool technique to get this to just be more branches immediately. And the Teflon tape makes it very simple to slide through the hole. And we're ready to start the next video. This is going to be the trident maple, with doing root grafts on it. So let's go ahead and see that video.
This tree, we are going to do root grafts on. This is a trident maple, and we have taken it out of its pot, and you would do this during repotting season. So this is the ultimate time to do this. You've pulled it out, you've trimmed back everything, and you can examine your roots to see what needs to be done. The other thing I want to cover with the thread graft part for branches, because you also do this in the spring, but an alternate way to do it, and I want to show this because this is perfect. This is grown out as a sacrifice branch. We need a branch right here. This is kind of wide and it's straight, so it would really benefit to have a branch there. I can pull this up and it almost reaches, it kind of reaches, but we're getting a little tight and that's pretty small. So what we can do is let this grow until May. So it's going to grow way out farther. Defoliate it when you would normally defoliate a maple. Defoliate this top down to there, so you don't have any leaves coming out here. Then you will be able to wire this around, do a thread graft through here. And because this tree is so pumped up when you defoliate, it's almost a better way to do it. You have probably a better success ratio of going out through this way. There you go, that's it. So I want to show you that just because it's here. And we're doing thread grafts also. So now back to the roots. I'm going to turn this around and show you what I've got. So front, this isn't too bad. There's roots all around there. This is pretty ugly. It's almost like a little horseshoe. So that would be a good place to put a root graft. There's a little root right there. That could be a place. That's okay. Root there, this is kind of borderline. We're going to start with the worst one, which is actually, and that's another place you could do it. And there's a bump right there. So you'd have to clean that out. I don't know what's going on under there. And this is a big root. And then we've got this, which is this huge wedge. And there's pretty much nothing there. There's little roots, but you need to have something bigger come out of here. This is too much. And so then back to the front. So I wanted to show you what I did when I cleaned this out. Underneath, here we have it. And then there were two just big, like this was a solid piece of roots. So we cut out this piece and this funky thing that was like that, because I need to make room for my scion, my whips, keep on calling scions, to go into here. So now I'm going to go back up here. It's good. Okay. I have to open this up and I have to find space to put those roots. We don't care. I have cutters. So I've got this root right here. I'm going to cut that off. And then I have a root. Okay. I think that's okay. I don't care too much about the little ones. So now I've got a space there. I should be able to fit two roots in there. If you did one, it would almost look like another spoke. So if I can wedge two roots into there, that would be nice. Okay, so now we're going to set this aside and we have to look at our whips and see what we have to use for material. Okay. This is one that came from Murayama's. So it needs to be long, it needs to be straight. This is dramatically taller and it has to be fairly tall. These are from seedlings and they're just not quite tall enough. It has to go all the way through the trunk, up the other side, and it has to be pointing up. So this is a pretty good size. The only one that might work would be this one. I don't know if you can see. It has a curlicue there. It has to be straight, especially at the base, because you're going to be threading this through a straight hole that goes through the trunk, through the root base. So that's not going to work. If you're growing from seed like this, you might want to put some wire. If this is what you're going to be using them for, you want these long, you want these straight. Okay. So I have this one from Mariama's. I have two others that I went ahead and I pulled these out. So let's pull this one out. These just fell apart. The roots, literally fell apart. It helps to have extras because you don't know what's going to work and where you want to put it. So here we have, let's see. You're never going to get past this. So you could go to here, and then you could keep these two roots, take that off. That would work. The best part about these, I'm going to show you what is better about these. Well, let's try this one again. Does it bend? Because as you're going through that hole, this is getting a little on the stiff side. I can't really bend that. That one might be too much. So let's look at this one. It's thin, it bends down. This is great because as it goes through the trunk, then you have this bending down, which is what you want the root to do. And this is flexy. So it's going to be less of that problem. This one kind of bifurcates there, but see this angle going down? I could, as I put it in, I can decide, do I cut this off and just go with this? Because otherwise this could be potentially sticking straight up out of the ground, and that's not going to help you at all. Or if I end up bending it a different way and it pegs to there, I could cut that off and then this would go down. So I have an option there. I'm going to wait and see how it fits into the trunk. Okay, so it looks like these are fairly thin. They should fit into there. So let's see how this is going to. And it's going to be in like that. And then I would have this one. Okay, so this is one option. And it's going to fit down in like that. All right, or let's try it the other way. If you don't want them to cross, you want them separate, the way you want roots to grow. So if we go this way, this has a curve that goes off that direction. This one. Go like that. And even though these are going to go going straight in, so it's going to go out a little bit farther, but that looks good. You're filling into the space, they're fairly close, but separate, they're dividing out. So that's what we're going to go with. Looks good. Okay, so now comes the fun part. You have to drill 2 holes through here, and they need to be fairly level with the other 2 roots. You don't want them way high or way down here. It'll look strange. So we're going to use a pilot drill bit. Going forward, we are. You may want to hold this work, okay? And this is going to come out. I think one's going to come out right there. Does that make sense? Okay. That was good. And now I want my second one to be fairly parallel to that. And that's just I have a nice broad space right here, so it's going to be pretty easy. And that's going to come out, I'm thinking right about there. So that hit kind of, that one easy. And this is very handy to have. It doesn't have to be as big as the drill bit you're going to use for the final opening, but it'll go all the way through and the whips will track through that. Challenge. Looks good, Renee. It's helpful if you have somebody that tracks for you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Hard to get it lined up.
What?
This way, just
This
way?
way?
Yeah, just a little bit that way.
Okay, now it's not gonna go any farther because I have to lie tissue in there. This is usually like more tedious than the thread graft for a branch because it has a long ways to go. And you don't want to go very fast because drill bits do heat up. If people are wondering why you just don't do an approach graft and cut a slot and jam it in there that way, I've tried it. It doesn't work as well for me, but that is an option that people do use. Okay, so there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's a good place for it.
All right, back out. Okay, I've got one more to do. Actually, that at least that's not down in the roots, so it's kind of better that it's not in the
Actually,
roots.
it's a perfect place. To come out. So now you want to probably angle a little bit.
We
over
want to come through,
right there. Yeah, want to angle it over that
I
area.
might go down up a little higher, so it'll definitely, at least it'll come through there.
So
Okay,
you need to move that way.
if I do that, then these roots are going to cross.
Ah, okay.
It's more important that this is more parallel. If I go this way, the roots are going to cross.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I want to, you can see that. I want to make sure if I go like this, there's no way
Yeah.
I can pull that over, or at
I
least it'd be
see.
a lot harder, even though
I
it's
see,
flexible.
I see.
So if we pull this over towards it a little bit, okay,
Let's see where that's going to come through.
it's going to come through right about there.
right there. Okay.
It doesn't have to go down through the roots, it can come up through here. It leaves a fairly small hole. There.
Ah, success. Perfect, Chairman.
Okay, can you see both sides? Try not to sigh. Okay, that comes out.
Perfect. Yay. Beautiful. The exit hole. Want to thread that through from that side?
So let's see what we look like. And there is a little bit of roughness there. I can
Yeah, there is a little bit of rough.
feel it.
Clean it out.
Let's try this one.
This side, does that side look okay? You're pretty smooth.
This,
on that
no,
side?
yeah, the in drill bit usually looks fine. Yeah, I'm gonna, and I'll show you. You want to see that part? So I've got one there, one there. Oh, that's really pretty nice. Okay.
Oh,
And then on this side, one there, and one basically parallel to it right there.
beautifully done. Beautifully done.
We'll see to be, yeah, definitely this one. This one's a hair thinner, but that should also work. So we're going to go in maybe about like that because I have to cover this part before it gets thinner to the other drill bit size. Okay. Lord. Okay, do this one first. This is a whole lot easier. All right, you'll run the through it from that side because I pushed debris. Okay. And same thing. So you can see, can I have another sticker? It's right there. Push these both through. That's pretty good. And this can be bent, and those are flexible, so it should be able to be bent like that. And this is where you run into a problem. If you did another one, say I just want to do this one too, and I go, okay, I'll drill through here. And next thing you know, you've drilled through that hole. So you move this stick and there's 2 sticks. So you've ruined this possibility, one of the possibilities for a root graft. Okay, that's good. Oh yeah, we decided which way we're going to go. Yes. We're going to go, this one is bending that way. This one's going right. Yeah. And that's where you could potentially do an approach graft. I don't like them. Okay. So I'm going to do this one first. And this is going to be fairly simple. As long as these buds are there, it should work. Even though it's starting to bud out. And there's the buds. And Renee's going to pull from that side as I push from this side. And it'll start getting a little bit tighter. Tighter. All right, I'm going to stop right there and let's do the other one because I want to make sure. Sometimes they kind of jam up against each other. I want to make sure I have room. Yeah.
That one has kind of a wimpy.
It has an odd little, but it doesn't, as long as we have buds. There we go. Okay, does it looks fine. And there are little twists and turns on these things. So as you're going, if you need to cut off a little bump, you can. And they're flexible, but they can still break. All right, so this one we have to decide, is this good like this? And then I cut this off and then have all this going down. That looks pretty darn good, doesn't it? And then this one's fine, pretty much no matter where I put it, because it's got roots everywhere. So I'm going to leave as much as I can, maybe a little bit farther there. Okay, so let's cut off this. And we still have lots of roots. Okay, let's look back up in here. Okay, that looks pretty good, I think. And now as that grows out, this whole thing is going to look very complete. Next year, I might do that one. All right, so our last thing we're going to do before we repot it, after we repot it, I'll pull these up now. So now you have this in the back. Wire. So to keep it out of the way, and you want these pointing up because you want these to grow aggressively. You kind of want them out a little bit from the outline of the canopy, but they need to be growing aggressively.
Oh, I'm just gonna just wire.
Okay. You're just gonna wire it? Oh, I don't care. I don't care. In fact, I can probably, yeah,
That's good.
it's as long as it's out of your way and they don't, is that gonna work?
It's gonna hold this up though.
There. It really doesn't matter. As long as it's, I know Renee wouldn't do it like this, but hey.
You don't have to do anything to the hole.
Cut paste.
I usually put a little cut paste.
Yeah, these holes are more obvious and this is probably going to heal, but we're going to put cut paste. You want on that side also.
It's hard to get underneath on this side though.
It's probably not as critical up on top.
Yeah. It's on top.
So let's take a look. So cut paste across there, and then we're going to pot it, repot it. When you repot it, This was in a very shallow pot. We saw the picture of the pot it was in. It needs to be up to the top of that for this to be okay. So I'm going to show you basically what we're looking at. I'm not going to do it, but so if you look straight across that, we are about up there. There'll be a little bit of soil in there, so maybe about like that. So that then the last thing,
Could have done more, huh?
it's just the ideas. I mean, sometimes I just go around in a little, just a little bit where the graft is. Make sure. There's almost enough to do the whole thing. Yeah. And there we have it. Another, not too hard. You just have to do the prep work to have the whips available that are the right species and the right length and straight, narrow. Good drill bits. All right. Thank you very much.
Here's an update on our trident maple that we did 2 root grafts using whips of a trident maple. You can see this is the front, and I've got a nice spread of roots now, and this is the spot. Those are our 2 root grafts right there. And it's filled this spot in beautifully. I've liked how they've fused together and spread out. It looks very, very natural. Looks pretty good. If we're going around, I'm going to show you that where they were threaded through, there's a spot there and there's a spot there. Tridents heal really fast, so these are pretty much almost completely done. So in the future, that works so well, and you can only do so many at a time, we've got a few areas. We could do one there. That looks like you could do one here. Probably right there's a kind of a gap that looks kind of ugly, like a U-shaped gap. So in the future, we have a few more that we could do, but I'd say that the front on this, nice broad base, and it looks pretty well filled in. Another easy technique.